Hi, I'm Chelsea Husum, your host of the Lip Service and Lashes podcast. I'm an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and mom of two. And I'm so tired of women not feeling like they can show up as fully expressed versions of themselves. So here, we're all about that unapologetically, because honestly, we don't have time not to. Literally, because we're busy as F moms and entrepreneurs, but also figuratively, because we don't know how much time we have on this planet, and we want to make an impact now. But if we're doing this, we're making it real vibes only. So let's get inspired, laugh our asses off, quite possibly cry, and feel like you're sitting on the couch with your bestie and a glass of wine. I'm so happy you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Lip Service and Lashes podcast. I'm your host, Chelsea Husum. I'm so glad you are here. All right, guys, today I have to talk about my journey, I guess I'll say, to meeting Daymond John. So if you don't know who this man is, he's the founder, CEO of FUBU Clothing. He's on Shark Tank, which I think most people are like, oh yeah, that's how you know him. He is just this like totally self-made person and extremely successful business person, an entrepreneur, an investor now. His story is so freaking inspiring. He started making hats out of his living room. He just is the epitome of like hustle and grit and resilience and like tenacity of like he refused to give up no matter what thing was thrown his way, or, he had roadblocks, or he had people saying no, or he had this. So I heard him, this is the first time I've heard him speak with his keynote last week in Denver. And my husband had sent this to me and I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm going. Because I never had heard him speak before. And he's just like, the things he did that were super creative, like kind of outwardly, people might look at him and be like, dude, that's weird. You're crazy. He just did because he knew that he had to do certain things in order to get his brand seen or get in front of the right people or do all these things, right? So it was really cool to hear some of his stories about, how his like different times that his brand exploded. Or one story, he said that LL Cool J was a really popular rapper at the time. And he said that him and his friends just literally sat outside his house for a really long time. It was days, and they kept coming back and they just would not leave and LL Cool J came out. And he's like, what do you like, leave? Why are you here at my house? And he's like, I want you to wear my stuff. And he's like, no. He told him no so many times. And they just kept like kind of stalking this guy outside of his house. And then finally LL Cool J gave in, and then that like blew up. He's like, I had one chance to take one picture with him wearing my shirt. These are the old pictures where you have to go develop the film. Like, you get one freaking shot. It could have been blurry. It could have been bad, but he goes, it was a perfect picture. And that just blew everything up. And then he was saying that he somehow got LL Cool J was the spokesperson for Gap at one point, but he somehow got LL Cool J to wear his FUBU hat and shirt in the Gap ad. And then he was rapping like, for us, by us, and Gap like freaked out because then he got all this like free advertising. Or he said he used to he got a bunch of free advertising because he went in his neighborhood and they all had the really like gross like garage doors to pull down right in front of their storefronts, and a lot of them are covered in graffiti. And so he said that he was like, hey, I'll clean the graffiti off, but I'm going to put an ad, like, you're the FUBU distributor. And so he goes, I had tons of these people say yeah, because they were sick of the graffiti on their garage doors, on their storefronts. And so, I mean, just different things like that, where he knew, who were the popular people at that time. So how could he get them in his clothes to go on a video set or do these things that all these, like I said, people thought he was crazy. They said, knock it off, stop doing it. And he just knew he was so tenacious that he just would not give up. And I just love that. So I, as a lot of you know, some of you know, I got chosen as a cast member on Daymond John's show. It's an educational series called Next Level CEO. So I got chosen as a cast member for this. I'm right now we're editing my episode. And so I was hoping to potentially meet him when I was in Miami. He lives in Miami, and I was hoping to meet him when I was there in February to shoot my episode, and also it was the Inside Success red carpet event. Well, it ended up being his birthday, and he was in Vegas for something else. So I did not get to meet him, and I was like, oh, what a bummer. And the funny part is, I truly believe your success is attributed to who you put yourself around completely. And so I now have two friends that are good friends with Daymond John. And to me, that's just weird. I mean, I don't know. It's not like, oh, I'm, cool because of who my friends know, whatever. But like successful people are around successful people. That's just plain and freaking simple. My two friends that know him well, I had asked one of them, like, hey, I'm going to be on his show, and then I know he's coming into Denver to do his keynote. Like, would you be open to connecting me? And he was like, yes. And then he was like, I'll send you his assistant's information. So here's just like where I feel awkward. That's an awkward ask. It's a big ask. And I didn't like want anything from Daymond. I just literally wanted to meet him and say thank you for, doing the show where you give entrepreneurs a chance to share their story, share their struggles, share things they've been through, and like a chance to put us out there, and celebrate that, you know? And so I had asked and I followed up. And the last thing was like, yeah, I'll send you this, his assistant's information. Then a couple weeks passed, and, like I said, I didn't see him in Miami. And then I'm like, well, I I really didn't know. I really didn't want to bother these two friends that I have. I don't want to harass them. I don't want them to think I'm just like, oh my God, Chelsea's so freaking annoying. She just wants to get to him. She wants to use me to get to him. So at some point I was like, enough. Like, you've asked if they, and the two people I asked, well, I didn't really ask one. I asked the other. They're both very successful, very freaking busy people, right? They got a lot of shit going on. Helping me meet Daymond John is not their freaking priority, even though, they're kind and helpful, but like they get a lot of shit going on. So I'm not going to harass and annoy them. Okay. So that's finally, I'm like, get over yourself. Stop. You got to figure out a different way. Like, you just need to. And so I, last week was in Denver. My husband, this is like a lot of construction people were there. My husband was there. Some of his team was there, his coworkers. And then I just bought a ticket for myself. And, I told my husband, like, I'm going to just go and try to just see what happens and like see if I can make this happen to meet him for a very short period of time. So, before it, I'm kind of like, I didn't see him out in the hall, whatever. There's like an empty VIP room. And I'm like, and then I kind of was getting down on myself. And I'm like, God, who am I to think that I would meet Daymond John? Like, I just started feeling kind of like, who do I think I am? Right. And I'm really not hard on myself much at all. Like, I don't have negative self-talk. I think I'm just like delusional, and I just like keep doing shit. And I'm like, well, it'll work out somehow. So I got to be honest. I don't really have a lot of negative self-talk. I think like a lot of people do, which I'm grateful for, right? But I remember I was sitting at the table. It's like 2 minutes before he's coming on. And I'm like, yeah, I should have known better. Like, who am I to think that I am going to meet this guy, right? And he's like, don't say that. This is my husband. He's like totally woo-woo. He's like, well, if you put that out in the universe, like, that's just not okay. I'm like, oh my God, I've created a monster. But so he comes out, he speaks, and he's talking about like all these things. And, as he's talking about how he was like stalking LL Cool J, I'm like, huh, okay, well, he's literally giving me permission for something I'm going to do afterwards. And I don't feel bad about it, because he did the same thing, actually way worse, and for way longer period of time. So they end and they usher him and the VIPs, which I don't even know how you signed up to be a VIP at this event. Like I never saw an option, whatever. And I'm actually glad but they usher him and this group into the VIP room, right? So my husband's like, okay, I'm going to leave, go back to work. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to hang out for a little bit. I'm just going to see what happens. I just kind of hung out in the lobby of this hotel. And then, they're in there taking pictures, doing all these things. And then this nice guy like smiled at me. Daymond had two guys, apparently with him. They were like, oh, last picture. And then this one guy walks out, then Daymond, and then another guy. So it must have been his team with him. And I had been standing by the door and I just walk right up to him, put my hand out. I shake his hand. I'm like, hi, Daymond. I'm Chelsea Husum. Like, so good to meet you. This was so inspiring to hear more of your story. I loved it. Thank you for coming to speak to us all today. And I said, I'm a cast member on your show, Next Level CEO, and, was hoping to meet you in Miami in February. I know it was your birthday, whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. So you own a business out of Denver. And I was like, yeah, I own a construction company. He's like, oh, that's awesome. And I was like, just thank you so much for coming. Like, appreciate you and all you're doing and, whatever. So he says, thanks, whatever. I walk away and I'm like, okay, great. I met the guy. I did what I said I was going to do. I actually just did it on my own, not needing anyone's help, being kind of creepy, sitting outside this room, knowing he eventually has to freaking come out sometime. But like he did the same thing. So I don't feel bad about it, and because most people aren't going to do that shit. So I got to meet him and chat for a short amount of time. But like most people aren't going to stand around creepily and wait because they feel awkward or they're like, whatever. Or they just, I don't know. So it's like being like, the guy's got to go pee at some point or come out. He's got to leave at some point. I'm going to stand here. And so as I'm walking away, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I got to meet him. But then I'm like, damn it, Chelsea, you're so stupid. Like you didn't even think to take a picture. And I'm like, but you know what? This was what it was supposed to be. It was perfect. It was a great moment. Move on. You didn't need a picture, right? And then like I'm walking away and this big dude, this assistant, like kind of like runs around the corner. And he's like, hey, come back here. Let's get you guys a picture together. And I'm like, so they like ran after me. I had walked away. It'd been a little while. And they like ran after me. He's like, come back and get a picture. And I was like, okay, this is exactly how this moment and this day was supposed to go. And the meeting him was supposed to go. I proved to myself I could make this happen on my own. I didn't need anyone else to do it for me. There's that. I can do the awkward, weird, creepy things to like stand out a little bit and like put myself around people that I want to learn and grow from. And this guy really inspires me and he's just a badass. He's out doing really cool shit. So, I just want to remind you, like, so many people take the easy route or they don't put in the extra time or don't do the awkward thing or they don't do the uncomfortable thing. But the few of us that do, look what freaking happens. Look what happens. So I just want to remind us, like, there are people out there that will be bold and take chances and do the weird shit that everybody might call you crazy. But like Daymond, with his clothing company, but look what he built. And it's so impressive and inspiring to me. So this is your little reminder to get your ass out there, do the crazy thing, take the chance, look like an idiot, be uncomfortable, because that's how you meet really amazing people, or you put yourself or your brand or your company in a really amazing position. And you never know. It's all about relationships, and you just never know what will come of that, right? So just had to share because, I'm a weirdo. And I am, at this point, I have no shame. I will do the crazy shit. So always remember, no BS, just real vibes. We'll see you next time on Lip Service and Lashes. If you loved the episode, share it on Instagram and tag me so I can say thank you and meet you, or share it with a girlfriend who you know would love this too. Always remember, no BS, just real vibes. See you next time on Lip Service and Lashes.